welcome to today's video. Those of you that are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Maria and today I'm going to put on a full face of makeup using the oldest makeup items that I have. Now I've already put primer on my face because the oldest one of those I have is actually the only one I have, and that is the Hourglass Veil Mineral Primer. You would have seen me use that in some of my older videos. So we'll start off with the foundation, and the oldest foundation that I have is the Estee Lauder Double Wear Stay in Place Makeup. This is still one of my favorites and it's absolutely gorgeous with oily and mature skin. So I'm going to today use that with a beauty blender and pop some of that on. I started using this foundation, I think, when I was about 28 or 30 years old. I think it was when it was first sort of released or came to New Zealand anyway. That's when I started using it, and it is such a good foundation. So next I'm going to put on the corrector that I have. Again, this is the only corrector I have, so it is the oldest one I have. And this is the Bobbi Brown Intensive Skin Serum Corrector. It's in the colour Peach. I don't see this used much either when I watch the different creators on YouTube, but I really like this corrector because it's serum based but still gives quite good coverage. And if you've seen my other videos, you know that I don't put foundation, or very rarely, under my eyes or on my eyelids. I like to get the most coverage I can on those areas but using the least amount of product. I just find with my oily mature skin that if I layer on the product too thick around this area, it just emphasizes the lines that I have. So I'm going to pop some of this on. I don't use much at all, and I will be putting a concealer over the top of this as well. So that's the corrector on, and I usually leave that for a minute or two just to settle into my skin. So while it's doing that, I put my eyeshadow primer potion on. And the oldest one, again, is the only one I have. And this is the Urban Decay Eyeshadow Primer Potion in Eden. So I'm just going to pop that on. Again, I just put a bit on each eyelid and I just use my fingers to blend that in. So that's my eyeshadow primer on. Now I will go in with a concealer over top of the corrector. And the oldest one that I've got, and I used to really love this, and I haven't used this probably for nearly a year, so I'm still hoping it's okay. And this is the MAC Pro Longwear Concealer, and I'm pretty sure this is in the shade, if I can read it, is NW25. The only thing I never liked with this concealer is that it's in a pump, and you always pump out far too much. I would have preferred that it's in a tube. So I'll just take it with my other finger and pop some underneath my eye. This wears really well. I'm hoping that it hasn't got too old and it'll wear okay through the day and even go on all right. But it should do. It doesn't smell weird. So even though I haven't used that concealer for a long time, it still went on just as well as it always used to. It doesn't smell strange, so I don't think it's gone off in any way. It still seems to be okay, and if it's like it used to be, this lasts really well during the day as well, and I don't find it too drying. So again, really good for under the eyes, especially with mature skin, so it doesn't give you that crepey look throughout the day. So next I'm going to do my eyebrows, and I'm going to use the Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Wiz. You've seen me use this in other videos that I've done. I recently bought the Huda Beauty Bomb Brow, and I really like that, but I still really like the Anastasia Beverly Hills one as well. So what I'm going to do is, to save a bit of time with this video, I will put this on off camera and then I'll be back. I do have two eyebrow gel products. One is the Anastasia Beverly Hills, and the one I've been using recently or for the last few months is the Benefit one. I quite like the Benefit one, but I've still got the Anastasia Beverly Hills one. So this is the oldest eyebrow gel that I have. So this is the one I will use today. So before I set down my foundation and the concealer under my eyes with powder, I'm actually going to put on a highlighter first, and I haven't used this in quite a while, and I used to use it all the time. And this is the MAC Prep and Prime highlighter, and it's in the colour Light Boost. I still don't even know whether it's around. I'll have to have a look because I actually really enjoy it. And it has this twists out onto the brush, and you twist it at the bottom for the product to come out. This is great for really subtle highlighting, and where I put it, sometimes I haven't actually used it for under my eyes for quite a while, so I'm not going to do that today. I'm not quite sure how it will turn out, but the other places that I use it are for just in the center of forehead. I use it down the bridge of my nose. And it's also good on these parts here, nasal labial folds here, because this is where a shadow is, and this highlighter takes, it's very subtle, but it does take away a bit that shadow. And if you can take away a shadow, the lines that you have there don't seem as obvious. And I'll just put a bit in the middle of the chin, and some just on the corners of my mouth here. The thing with this colour too, you can't really sort of go wrong with it. You can use quite a bit, and it just blends out beautifully. So I'm actually going to put a bit more on. And then I'm going to take my Beauty Blender again and just blend that in. But it's probably not even that obvious on camera. It just gives a very subtle highlight, and that's why I like it. So you can see that it just blends beautifully almost into nothing, and it just gives, and I don't know whether you can see it on camera, but it really just gives a very subtle highlight, and I really like it. I haven't used it for ages, but it is really pretty. Yes. The oldest setting powder that I have is the Laura Mercier translucent setting powder. It is the loose one. This is a really, really lovely powder, and I've been using more the Hourglass and the Charlotte Tilbury one, but this is still a really good setting powder. So I'm going to take a BK Beauty brush, and this is the 103 brush, and what I'll do is I'll just transfer it to this lid here, and then I'll just roll this brush in there, and I will tap off the excess. And then once I've tapped off the excess, I just gently press it under my eyes. Then I'll just put a little bit more powder into the lid, and I'm going to take the Sonia G Face 1 brush and buff some of this powder into my face. Just dab it on first, and then buff it in. But that feels really nice. It really is a lovely setting powder, and it's, even though it's the oldest one I've got, I must keep it actually up on my desk where I keep all my makeup instead of the drawer, so I use it more because it is a really, really gorgeous setting powder. So next I'm going to put on some contour. I'm not that big on contour for me. I'm probably not that great at putting it on. I think contour can look absolutely fantastic on some people, not on everyone, so I'll go fairly easy with it. I only have two different sort of contours. One is Charlotte Tilbury one, and I bought that about a month or two ago. But this one I've had for well over a year, and this one is the Too Faced Cocoa Contour. So this is in a powder form. This has been around a while, but those of you that haven't seen it, this is what it looks like, and I am actually going to use the deepest shade down here. And usually with a powder contour, I like to, it's almost like packing the product on first and then I buff it in. So I've actually got a brush that I haven't used in quite a long time, and this is the It Cosmetics. It's the only It Cosmetics brush I've got, and is the Heavenly Luxe Angled Radiance brush, and it is the number 10 one, and this is quite tightly packed, so quite good for placing the contour on to begin with. So I'll get some on my brush and pop it where I think it needs to go. So I'm not going to put on too much because it'll probably just look strange. I always worry that I haven't got it even on each side with contour. And then I'll just put a little bit under here just to give, so it doesn't look like I'm too jowly under there. So it sort of looks a little bit crazy at the moment. So I'm actually was searching for a brush. I need a powder brush, but that isn't too fluffy, so I can buff this out properly. So I'm going to try first with the Hourglass number 1 brush and buff this out. So I've buffed it out as much as I can. I always think it looks a little bit crazy. I do think contour looks gorgeous in photos, and it'll probably look quite good on this video. I just think it just can look a little bit strange out in natural daylight, but it's not too bad, and it's buffed out quite well. So next I'm going to put on some bronzer, and the bronzer that I'm going to use is the Benefit Hoola bronzer. I have about 4 bronzers in my collection, and this is the oldest one that I have. The packaging isn't fantastic with the Benefit bronzers, but the product is actually really, really good. So I'm going to take the Rapha number 22 brush and put the bronzer on. So I've done my bronzer, and by the time I've got contour and bronzer on, I'm looking very, very brown, and it does look very strange, and I can see why I don't often use contour. But by the time it's all finished, it should look okay. So next I'm going to put on eyeshadow, and the oldest eyeshadow palette I have is the Too Faced Natural Eyes palette. I really like this palette. I still reach for it every now and then. I've always loved the neutral colors. I think this palette is really, really pretty. No, it hasn't got blues and greens or anything like that, but I think this is a really lovely palette. And if you're just beginning with eyeshadow and you're looking to buy a palette, I would really recommend this one because it has the mattes, it has some shimmers. It's a really good palette to start off with. So I'm going to use this palette how I always use it. I tend to go for the same colors each time. I use about 4 or 5 different colors. So I'm going to take my Rapha number 15 brush and go into Strip Poker first. Then using the same brush, I'm going to go into Cashmere Bunny. This is another matte colour, just to start giving a little bit more depth through the crease. These shadows blend really beautifully. I've never seen any other reviews on this palette, so I'm not quite sure what people think of it, but it must be quite popular because you can still buy this palette. Then I'm going to go into a deeper colour here called Sex Espresso. and do the outer corner. Then using the same colour, the Espresso, I'm going to use the Raffin number 3 brush and go under my lower lash line. So now I'm going to put on a shimmer, and I'm going to go into the colour Push Up here, and I'm taking my very old Estee Lauder flat brush to put that on. So I'm just going to give the same brush a wipe in the cloth in front of me, and then I'm going to go into the colour Silk Teddy and just lightly go on top of the colour that I just popped on. And then using the same colour, the one Silk Teddy that I just used, I'm just going to put some of that on the inner corner of my eye. Then I'm going to take my BK Beauty 206 brush and just dip into the colour Silk Teddy again, and just put a little bit on the centre of the brow bone. Then I'm going to take my Trukahuru blend brush and just go over to blend everything in. Now normally I would go in with the darkest colour here, Espresso, the matte shade, and use my Hourglass, which one is it, the number 10 brush, and use that for the upper lash line to press them in, and that shade is definitely dark enough to do that, and that's often how I do it. But since I'm doing a full face of my oldest products, I thought today I'd use an eyeliner instead. My oldest eyeliner is the Makeup Forever one. I haven't used this for quite a while. It is fairly good. It says it's waterproof and extra long wear. It's from memory, it does wear quite well. So I'm going to put this on the upper lash line and a little bit on the lower one, just from the corner to the center here. And I'm going to use my small mirror here because it's got a magnifying mirror and I can see what I'm doing. I'm not the best at putting on eyeliner on my upper lid. It tends to take me quite a while, so I'll probably be doing most of this off camera. I think what's tricky with putting on eyeliner is when your skin on your eye is more mature, the skin is a lot looser and it's quite hard to get an even line. So I finished putting on my eyeliner. It took me quite a while. I find it really hard to get it even, and if I don't, what I have just been doing is I've been using the BK Beauty 204 brush, and I really like this. It's dense but still really soft. So if you find with an eyeliner that it's gone on a bit crooked or it just doesn't look quite right, I go over with this brush over the eyeliner and it just blends it out slightly, gives it, you still get that impact of the eyeliner, but blends it out so it doesn't look patchy and it just gives it a really lovely look. So next I'm going to do my lashes, and I'm just going to curl them first. I only have one eyelash curler, so this is the oldest one that I have. This is the Kevin Aquan one, and it's actually really, really good. So the oldest mascara I have is actually about 9 or 10 months old, and I'm hoping it'll work okay today. And that is the Tarte Lights Camera Splashes Mascara. I got this as a sample with an order I got quite a long time ago. But the one that I got in the sample wasn't waterproof, and by accident I then ordered the waterproof one, and this from memory wasn't quite as good. So I'm still hoping the formula in here will be okay because, as I said, it's about 9 or 10 months old. So that's the mascara done. It actually went on quite well, and it does give quite a bit of volume. It was slightly clumping there, but I think that's due to its age more than anything else. At 9 months, I'm going to put this in the empties box that I have. 9 months is getting well past how long I would have a mascara. So now I'm going to put on some blush, and this one's about 18 months old, I think. A year to about 18 months old. And I bought it a while ago at a chemist I was in overseas. The chemist is also called it a drugstore. And this is a Revlon one. So this is more of a budget-friendly one. And this is in the colour Tinkled Pink. And I haven't actually used it before. I have swatched it on my hand, but I've never actually worn it because I've been buying quite a few other blushes. So here is the colour. It's actually really, really pretty. And when I swatch it onto my hand, the formula feels really, really beautiful. So we'll see how that looks. I'm going to use the BK Beauty 104 brush and put that on. That is actually a really nice blush. I think it's the only blush I own that's on the more sort of less expensive side. I can't even remember why I bought it now. I must have been in a shop somewhere and decided that I thought the colour was really pretty and give it a go. But it blended out really well, and it is a really pretty colour. So whatever other colours they have in this range from Revlon are definitely worth checking out. I think that they're really, really beautiful formula. So since we're doing a full face, I am going to put highlighter on today. This is also a more budget-friendly one, and this is the Maybelline Master Chrome, and it is Molten Rose Gold. I still use this highlighter occasionally. I think it is really, really pretty, and it is super pigmented. I'm going to swatch a little bit on my hand and show you. You could probably see almost on my finger how pigmented that is, but I'm just going to put a bit on the back of my hand. So this is how it looks on the back of my hand. I mean, it's super pigmented, and the formula is really, really beautiful. So if you're looking for a highlighter that's a bit more on the cheaper side and much more budget friendly, then I really recommend this one. I'm going to put it on using the Rapha number 20. I like using fan brushes to put on highlighter because I like it to go as subtle as I can. So I'll just sweep that through, and it picks up quite a bit. So I'll just go fairly carefully. But super pigmented highlighter. So even though I went really, really lightly with this fan brush, it is just super pigmented. So I'm going to take the Sonia G Smooth Buffer and just go over that to try and tone it down a little bit. And now I'm going to put on some lipsticks, and the ones that I looked through that were my oldest, there's 2 Bobbi Brown ones, and there is 1 MAC lipstick. I don't really buy MAC lipsticks anymore, but I kept this one, and this one is in Sweet Venom. So I'm going to swatch them on the back of my hand so you can have a look. This is Sweet Venom, and it's pretty bright. I don't know whether it's still okay. It doesn't smell strange, so I think it's still okay. The next one is Bobbi Brown, and this is in Pale Coral. This one's fairly bright too. I kept all the really bright ones. I hardly ever wore them, but I just love the colours. So I've got the coral, and then a pinky one next to it. So they're both really pretty. I think this one will still be okay too. I have to smell them to see if they're all right. Yeah, and that one smells fine too, so that's good. And the last one from Bobbi Brown, and I've actually nearly used it all, and this is in the colour Mod, And why I like this one is if I put on a lipstick and I just think that it's too bright, I layer this over the top and it just softens the colour a bit. So I quite like it for that. And this is what Mod looks like. So it is very, very pale. But like I said, it's quite good for toning down other colours. So because my blush is more pinky and the eyeshadow's got a bit more of the pink in it as well, I'm going to go for the very bright MAC one and Sweet Venom and see how that looks. So that is the colour Sweet Venom. No wonder I never wore it very much. It is very, very bright. And even though it doesn't smell, it hasn't actually gone on that well. It feels sort of almost like it's a bit grainy. So it's definitely time for this to be thrown out. It's so bright. I think I might try and tone that lipstick down. I wonder if I'll be able to do it with that colour Mod in Bobbi Brown that I was showing you just before. I'll put a layer of that on. Right, so I put a layer of the Bobbi Brown Mod on, but it really hasn't made a difference. Nothing is going to be toning this lipstick down. It is so bright. But that's okay. That's the oldest lipsticks that I had. And it looks okay. It's just so bright. I prefer more of a bit of a red than the pink. The pink is sort of a little bit sort of old-fashioned. Something wrong with the lipstick. It's not, hasn't gone on an even pigment on my lips, so I'm definitely going to be throwing that one out. I'm now going to put on some lip gloss because I thought, well, I'll find my oldest lip glosses, and the oldest ones I've got are actually from Stila, and one is in Golden Parachute and the other one is in a pink slip. I've hardly got any left in the pink slip and they're actually quite worn. I don't know whether you can see, but it's where I've thrown them in my handbag to use throughout the day and they've sort of rubbed against other items. But I quite like the formula of these lip glosses, but there's hardly any of this one left. So not only is my lipstick patchy and extremely bright, it's also now glossy and extremely bright as well. So last I'm going to put on finishing powder that I use. This is the only finishing powder I use. You've seen me in other videos put this on. And this is the Hourglass Ambient Lighting in Dim Light. So I'm going to take, again, the Sonia G Face 1 brush and just swirl that in and buff that in. So that is the finished look. I still really love the eyeshadow. I think it's a great go-to. And like I said, if you're just beginning with eyeshadows, I think that is a really great palette to start with. It has a mixture of the mattes and the shimmers and really beautiful soft colours. The surprise for me was the blush that was my oldest that I'd never used, that Revlon one. I think it blended really beautifully and I just think it is really, really pretty. The mascara was okay. I think it was getting a bit on the older side at 9 months. That's why it slightly sort of clumped here, and I could layer it, but it sort of felt a little bit drier, but that's probably due to its age. The foundation is absolutely beautiful because it's the Estee Lauder Double Wear. I've had it for many, many years and I will continue to purchase it. It is definitely a go-to foundation for me. I absolutely love it. The lipstick is a hot mess. It is a shocking colour and I don't know whether you can see it on camera, but it is patchy in places and adding the gloss just made it look even worse. The contour and blush now look okay once everything's on. Like I said, I'm not really a huge contour person. I use it every now and then, but I use bronzer instead a lot more. The highlight that I used, the MAC Prep and Prime one looks really, really gorgeous. I hadn't used it for such a long time, but it blends beautifully into the skin. It does give a really subtle highlight in areas where you place it. It lasts really well, and I just think it is such a great product. I have to start using it more. The other great product that I've had for a while, and that is my oldest highlighter, and that is this Maybelline Master Chrome highlighter. It's just really pigmented and is a beautiful formula. So if you're after a highlighter that isn't going to cost a lot of money, then I would definitely give this Maybelline Master Chrome highlighter a go. They're just such beautiful formulas and at a really great price point. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time. Bye.